Well, this is like coming home. I am a founding member of the Iowa Atheists and Freethinkers. Goes back to 2007, when there wasn't an Iowa Atheists and Freethinkers, and a group of us were meeting at the Panera Bread in West Des Moines. Some of you may know that. The little back room back there. About 15 of us or so, 15, 10 to 20 of us. And we were having meetups. And back then, I was looking, because I was been an atheist for quite a while. I was looking for people in Iowa who were atheists. Couldn't find them for a while. I found a group called the Iowa Secularists in Iowa City. They were having a conference. And I went to the conference and I started meeting these people in Des Moines that were having a Sunday meetup. So I said, I think I'm going to go to that meetup. And so I began to go to that meetup. And in this meetup, one day, a person was there who said, are you guys going to do anything? Are you just going to sit around and eat and talk? And we said, well, I suppose we could do something. And somebody said, hey, there's a farmer's market thing down there. Maybe we could get a booth. And that was the beginning of the Iowa Atheists and Freethinkers booth down there in the farmer's market. Somebody else said, there's a gay pride parade and festival. Maybe we get a booth there. And somebody else said, maybe we need to study the Bible so we can rebut some of these silly things that Christians say about the Bible. And so I began to teach a critical Bible study. Well, from that came the Iowa Atheists and Freethinkers. And I'm glad to be back here today. This is like coming back home. My book, From Born Again Christian to Born Again Skeptic. By the way, there's a chapter in the book, chapter 7, the creation of the Iowa Atheists and Freethinkers. So we want to know how this group got started. That's in the book there. Well, I was raised to be a Christian. Every Sunday we went to church in our Sunday go-to-meeting clothes. You know, when you go to church, you got to go to the Sunday go-to. So we were little kids about like this. We put on our hats and our ties and our suits. We looked like little gangsters, but we were going to church. And we went to church every Sunday. And so I grew up in the church. And then after that, I graduated from high school. I was in Council Bluffs, Thomas Jefferson High School. And I went to Bible college down there in Manhattan, Kansas. Manhattan Christian College, which is right across the street from Kansas State University. I studied for the ministry. And after 3 years, after studying for the ministry, as I was getting ready for my senior year, they called me into the dean of students. Said, Randy, we have a problem. You're teaching some things that aren't right. You're preaching some things that are not in line with our college. I said, oh, really? So you got to stop this preaching and teaching thing. Stay here on the campus and come and see me every week so we can straighten you out. I said, well, okay. A couple days later, they said, we don't know if we want you to graduate. Finally, I met the president of the college who said, we ain't going to let you graduate here. You see, that's how religion works, folks. If you don't line up, if you don't shape up, if you don't have the right, they have ways of dealing with you. It's called excommunication, shunning. We just won't let you graduate from this college. Well, these stories are in my book about how I left religion and then began to pull out the bricks of religion. And I started rereading the Bible. It's just a book. Started studying comparative religions. Studied dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens, and read all their holy books. And none of them worked. Finally, the God question, is there a God? So I struggled with that. As I became an atheist, I became also an atheist activist. That's how we began to create the Iowa Atheists and Freethinkers. So part one of my book is the autobiography, going through the change, leaving religion. And then the second part are a series of articles, issues, things that I had to deal with, like the historical Jesus. And we've been looking for this historical Jesus guy for about 250 years. Doggone. And what about religion and science? Is that compatible? Stories like that. I wrote one story also about how religion kind of messes up sports, even for the little leaguers. And you have prayer before the football game, after the football game, during the football game. You go to a football game and it becomes a revival meeting. That's in public schools, folks. One of my biggest concerns is what's happening to the public schools. I wrote an article, by the way, I write for Substack, in Substack. And I have my business cards I've kind of put around the tables. And you can follow me on Substack. And some of these Substack articles are in the book. So that's the second half of the book. So you can follow me on Substack. You can buy the book at Amazon. It's published through there. Or you can buy it from me directly back there. I give you a little deal. If you buy it from Amazon, you're going to pay a little more and pay for shipping. But if you buy it from me directly, you'll pay me. You don't have to worry about shipping, and we'll just take care of business back there. So that's my book, From Born Again Christian to Born Again Skeptic. Oh, by the way, as a skeptic, I borrowed the words from one Thomas Jefferson. He said it more eloquently, but he basically said, question everything with boldness, even the existence of God. Question everything. That's what a skeptic is, folks. We question everything. And I think that's also the basis of science. So, born again Christian to born again skeptic. Thank you, folks. Have a good time.